RHONY. Sonja Morgan's ex-husband dead at 94. RHONY. Sonja Morgan's ex-husband, John Adams Morgan, passed away at the age of 94. Their daughter, Quincy, shared the sad news on Friday, February 7, 2025. So what did the only child of the former couple have to say? Keep reading for more details. Sonja Morgan's ex-husband dead at 94. RHONY viewers are well aware that Sonja Morgan was very proud of being married to John Adams Morgan. She talked about her ex-husband regularly and was on the boards and charities involving the Morgan last name. Furthermore, she claimed that she did a lot of this as a legacy for her daughter, Quincy, but many believed she did it for the prestige. She never quite moved on when she and John parted ways after 8 years of marriage. Sonja always noted that she never got what she deserved from the divorce, and there were different rumors as to why they split. One thing she hated more than anything was being called a trophy wife, despite him being more than 30 years her senior. He was never shown on the hit Bravo series, and neither was their daughter, Quincy, but she was talked about a lot. She went off to college, and Sonja recently got rid of her infamous townhouse. Sadly, as that chapter closed, so did John Adams Morgan's life. Quincy took to her Instagram stories to share the news of her dad's passing at the age of 94. She explained that John had passed away this month, and right now, her family is navigating this together. Quincy also added that her manager helped her as she took time off to figure out how to deal with the loss. As of now, Sonja Morgan has yet to acknowledge the passing of her ex-husband. She has posted her walking the runway at New York Fashion Week, but that is all. Sonja was John's fourth wife, but he remarried in 2010 and was still wed when he passed away. Being a Morgan. Sonja Morgan did catch a lot of heat for her dedication to being a Morgan. She had the Morgan insignia on her shoes and was using that as her brand. Dorinda Medley came after her during an episode in Season 10 of RHONY for carrying around the last name. She claimed that Sonja's daughter was not a Morgan, not Sonja herself. However, she maintained that she was very involved with the family, and anytime anyone spoke poorly of them, she flipped out. No matter what transpired between her and John Adams Morgan, she was very dedicated to the family, and that is vital. Now she can mourn and move on. The Upper East Side was abuzz with whispers and hushed condolences as news broke. John Adams Morgan, the ex-husband of Real Housewives of New York star Sonja Morgan, had passed away at the age of 94. A titan of finance and heir to one of America's most prestigious families, and a man who had spent a lifetime navigating the gilded corridors of high society. His passing marked the end of an era. For Sonja Morgan, it was a moment of reflection wrapped in a swirl of emotions. She had once been the young, vivacious blonde who had captivated the much older businessman, their whirlwind romance culminating in a marriage that promised a fairy tale but delivered something far more complicated. While their union ended years ago, the legacy of their life together lingered in memories, in their daughter Quincy's eyes, and in the remnants of a life Sonja had once fought to hold on to. As news outlets scrambled to piece together obituaries worthy of a man whose lineage traced back to banking and political royalty, Sonja took to her usual form of expression, social media. Rest easy, John. You were a great father to Quincy, and your legacy will live on, she posted alongside a black and white photo of their early days together, back when they were an emblem of New York's elite. Despite their divorce, Sonja had always spoken with a mix of reverence and regret about her ex-husband. We were supposed to grow old together, she once lamented on Real Housewives of New York, recounting how their marriage unraveled, leaving her with memories, a high-profile last name, and a lengthy battle to maintain the lifestyle she had grown accustomed to. The iconic townhouse, the extravagant parties, the stories of yachts and street tropez summers, they were all relics of a past intertwined with John Adams Morgan. Those who knew John described him as a man of quiet dignity, one who rarely engaged with the media frenzy that surrounded Sonja's reality television antics. He had long retreated from the public eye, content to let Sonja bask in the limelight while he remained ensconced in a world of old-money discretion. But his influence was undeniable, both in Sonja's life and in the legacy of the Morgan family name. The funeral was expected to be a private affair, a stark contrast to the glitzy events that Sonja was accustomed to attending. While Sonja had always been the life of the party, draped in sequins and sipping champagne, this was a different kind of gathering, one of hushed reverence, where the echoes of past grandeur would quietly settle into the annals of history. Quincy, their fiercely private daughter, was expected to take the lead in honoring her father's memory. Having largely stayed out of the reality TV sphere that defined her mother's public persona, she embodied the composed, refined demeanor of her father's world. In many ways, she was the bridge between two vastly different universes, one steeped in traditional aristocracy, the other in Bravo-fueled mayhem. As the news of John's passing spread, speculation swirled about how Sonja would process it all. Would she delve into nostalgia on RHONY, regaling her castmates with tales of her days as Mrs. Morgan? Would she use this moment to pivot into a new chapter, one where she finally let go of the past she had so fiercely clung to? Or would this be a quiet reckoning, a realization that despite all her efforts to maintain the Morgan name and its associated prestige, time had rendered its own verdict? Fans of RHONY took to social media, offering their condolences while reminiscing about Sonja's many references to her marriage. Rest in peace to Mr. Morgan. Sonja's been name-dropping him since season 3. He was basically an honorary housewife. One fan tweeted. Another wrote, "I hope Sonja finds peace in this. She loved telling stories about their life together." Indeed, Sonja had long carried the weight of her former life, reliving it through anecdotes of grand yachts, international soirees, and the elusive Morgan crest. Now, with John's passing, the chapter was definitively closed. It was a reminder that even the most glamorous of pasts could not outrun the inevitable march of time. For years, Sonja had fought to hold onto the townhouse that symbolized her connection to the Morgans, pouring money into renovations and battling financial woes that became a storyline of their own. Would this be the moment she finally let it go? Would she see John's passing as a sign to relinquish the vestiges of their life together and step into something new? In the days following the news, the tributes continued to pour in from those who had known John in the business world, in the equestrian circles he frequented, and in the old money enclaves where his name had long carried weight. But for Sonja, the loss was personal. It was not just the passing of an ex-husband. It was the final curtain call on a life she had spent years narrating to anyone who would listen. As she prepared to attend the private service, she likely wrestled with a kaleidoscope of emotions. Would she be received as the former wife, an acknowledged part of his story, or would she remain the colorful, unpredictable reality star who had, for years, spun her own version of their history? Either way, one thing was certain. Sonja Morgan had lost a man who had defined so much of her identity, even long after their marriage had ended. In true Sonja fashion, she would likely find a way to celebrate his life with the same theatrical flair she brought to everything. Maybe there would be a sentimental toast with a glass of her beloved rosé. Maybe a wistful monologue to the RHONY cameras. Or maybe, just maybe, this would be the moment where she finally allowed herself to step out of the shadow of the past and into a future where she no longer had to hold onto the Morgan name to feel like she belonged. But for now, it was a time to grieve, to reflect, and to acknowledge that even the grandest of stories must eventually reach their final page.